Right. Hit the record button today. Did not record the session from yesterday. Live streamed it, but forgot to record it like an idiot. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It is Tuesday, April 28th. Not much in terms of economic news releases this morning. We got the CB consumer confidence numbers coming out at 10, but that's not a huge market mover. I necessarily don't want to really be trading into that or through that. However, if the opportunity is just so overwhelming, I will trade through that news release. Markets are down from where we finished yesterday. We're kind of back in that composite balanced range around 165. If you look at the TPO chart, we have this kind of composite balanced area just around 165 to 160. I'm a little surprised by the move down this morning. It happened at around 7 a.m. and I looked back and I don't see any major news releases at that time. The major news of the morning is the United Arab Emirates are exiting OPEC, which is, I don't know. I don't think really that would affect equity markets. You might have a slight impact in the crude markets, which crude is up about just 4% this morning. But overall, I wouldn't think that would have a huge impact on the U.S. economy, that the UAE has left OPEC. So even 30 seconds till the open, we're already getting a volume injection here. I got to imagine that we're just going to go back up into the 7200s today, go back where we were. I'm not exactly sure why the sell-off at 7 a.m. back into this balanced range around 160. But, based off last week where we tested lower a few times, rejected pretty cleanly, came back into balance, and now we've tested higher. And on the 2 attempts higher, you've been pretty balanced, right? Prices were not all over the place. We formed kind of a normal distributive ranges. First on Friday, then a little bit on Monday. So a part of me just wants to buy, 7165 and go long up to 7,200. But let's see how the order flow plays out a little bit this morning. A couple large transactions right before the open on the buy side. One right at the open, but that could just be a market on Trump. Iran has just informed us that they are in the state of collapse. They want us to open the Hormuz as soon as possible. Yeah, I don't know if that's necessarily a true statement. It could be, but why they would tell you that, I'm not exactly sure. So let's see where the order flow takes us a little bit. This morning, we're kind of back in this composite range. It might be that we just now balance again in this range, around 165 down to 150. Right, because you tested lower, cleanly rejected lower. You tested higher, found acceptance, but now you've fallen back into balance. So getting some little bit mixed signals this morning. And Trump is, up and at him tweeting this morning. So let's see what he does to the markets. But again, I think I like longs better than shorts today, just based where we are in the trading history, just above balance from the prior week. But it is, again, curious that we've fallen back into this balance range after testing slightly higher. Found some decent balance and then came back down. So sell order at 164, 275 contracts. It's good size. I'm coming in at the lows of 162, trying to hold up price. This isn't convincing enough order flow for me to just jump in right here at the open. I want to see things pan out a little bit. 15,000 contracts, just about 16,000 traded in the first minute. That's pretty good size. We got Fed funds tomorrow. So I don't think the market's going to get all crazy today and start doing some sort of trend day or anything. I think we, again, continue this price discovery mode here in balance and then potentially move out of balance to the upside, looking for new balance. But with Fed funds coming on Wednesday, I don't know if that really happens today. So kind of, I think the strategy for today is similar to what we were kind of doing and did yesterday, is that we're really looking for long scalps, right? Because now that matches like our longer term bias thinking based on auction theory. We go in the right direction, scalping on the idea that today's distribution is not likely to be a trended distribution. It's more likely to be normative, as funds are very reluctant to take major positions before Fed funds. So I think this environment is going to favor scalp trades, and I'll think they would favor more long scalp trades than short scalp trades. But I want to kind of see where order flow takes us a little bit this morning, see what it confirms or denies, and we'll go from there. Pretty big imbalance on S&Ps this morning, 200 plus 260 million essentially. Yeah, and you see that right in the opening minute, right here. Yeah, the market was easily able to absorb all those buys. So sellers could be present here. But I want us to find a little bit of a range today and see how that interacts with Monday's range, because we're well outside Monday's range now. I mean, the low from Monday's cash session is 177. So you still got a little bit of a gap to go to test that range. I mean, it is a pretty significant low volume area there from the prior week at 180. That might be your upwards resistance if the market is truly interested in just staying in balance around this 165 to 150 range. So if we come up and we start to see heavy resistance to 177, 180, I don't know, it potentially could be a short scalp back down to 165. We'll see. And so volume is trying to lift price here out of the 160s. Volume came in at the low 162, lifted price. Volume came in at 165, lifted price. 168, lifted price. And now we're getting back into this area where volume came in and shot price down. So let's see what happens again up here at 172. And try to get a feel for the market today. Yeah, I wonder if we just balance today. Right back in this balance range, right? Like we tested lower last week, wasn't interested, quick rejection. We tested a little bit higher Friday into Monday, and it, we balanced, but here we are right back in the more composite balanced area. And when I say it balanced, it means it forms like a normal distribution. That means both buyers and sellers are pretty active and they both readily agree that this is an acceptable price, and it forms like these smooth curves here. And then composite balance, I talk about repetitive balances within the same area. So that you get from the TPO chart. But for signs of seller absorption since the open, nothing on the buy side. Very tight range, 174 down to 162 at the open so far. We're 5 minutes into trade. Seems like markets are just slowing down a little bit, not a very aggressive volume build. Last large order was at 932 for a buyer at 167. Down here. And this wasn't a very quick rejection of the lows, and you're also not getting a very quick rejection of the highs either. So far it seems like balance is going to be the distribution of the day, but let's give this a little more time and let it play out a little bit more before we start really thinking about putting on a position or taking trades. Again, we'll be interested to see what happens at this 177, 180 kind of area where there's a little bit of a dip in the volume. There's not a lot of volume transacted here at 180. So let's see if that offers upward resistance. Yeah, I mean, I got to imagine if buyers were really excited about these prices down here, or like you would have already left this range. I think the aggressive would have been buying this morning at the open if you really wanted to take this back out of balance and start exploring the 7200s again. I just don't get that impression. Volume that's coming in and still trying to hold up the price. Let's give this market a little wiggle room this morning. And it's Tuesday. Let's not be super aggressive today with Fed funds tomorrow. Unless, something compelling happens. But based off where we are in this distribution history, back in this kind of balanced range, you got potentially upwards resistance at 180, balance down at 160, down to 150 potentially. It's not a whole lot of wiggle room to trade within at the moment. POC at 170 for the morning. And it just took all that time to get back to where we opened. Volume still trying to hold up price. So this isn't very bearish order flow at the top of the range. You've already broken some bearish absorption here. But now you have sellers stepping in at slightly higher prices. I mean, volume's holding down price here at the highs. It doesn't seem to be super aggressive. So, I mean, I favor long scalps in this environment just because I do somewhat expect a normal distribution for the day based on where we are within the composite balance range of 160 down to 150. But the fact that we're even down here this morning isn't very reassuring. But I mean, part of it, you can't put too much weight on pre-market moves. It's done with low volume. Anyone with size can move a market when it's not the U.S. cash session. Like trading outside the U.S. hours is kind of silly. Let's see if we get more seller absorption to come in here. But it's pretty aggressive volume that came in at the POC to lift price. Weekly POC is at 205. And we're coming up kind of in this low volume area from this week, but also that aligns with the low volume area from last week as well. So either three potentially scenarios here. I think one is you just bounce back in this area and now actually fill it in. Two, move through it quickly and it becomes resistance. Or three, that you can't get above it right now. But buyers are willing to go higher here. So we've broken seller absorption once. Sellers came in at higher prices. That's not bearish, that's bullish. You have now absorption near the highs. That's pretty bullish too. So just be patient. This is again a tight range. I don't want to trade this on the hopes like, oh, we're going to break out and go back to 7,200 right now. I don't see that in this order flow just yet. I mean, I do like that we're resisting the POC. I do like the fact that outside of this candle, all the volume that's coming in at these prices is lifting. You're not quickly rejecting these highs at all. But I necessarily don't want to buy here, full well knowing that this 180 area could be a little tough to get through. Like I almost want to engage once we get above 180 and catch it on a retracement into 180, if that makes sense, rather than trading it with the hopes that it breaks through 180. So let's see what happens as we approach this low volume area. Volume still lifting. Not going to do anything just yet. Nothing in large transactions outside 932 at 167 was a buyer. So he's somewhere in here. All right, so we don't see institutions really joining this move just yet. Literally only one transaction since the cash session opened. That was over 100 contracts transacted in a single transaction. Volume coming in, lifting price. A pretty bullish order flow here, folks. You've broken seller absorption now twice. Volume that's coming in is still lifting price. Like, we don't really see any signs of sellers at the moment. All right, these overnight people that drifted price down from 72.05 all the way down to here could be in trouble. As they start to see prices rise, they could be covering shorts. It's a concept called overnight inventory and auction theory, which I don't rely on very heavily because overnight inventory is usually pretty small. I mean, they don't trade a lot of volume overnight. So whether or not they're long or short going into the cash session, I don't think it really matters. So volume came in at 182, pushed things back down. I kind of want to see what happens when we come back towards 175, right? Because this is kind of a range that we've developed here and then kind of broke out of it on volume right here that built at 176. So if we come down here, a lot of volume comes in, quickly rejects this. We can maybe try to make a play, right? Because I feel like this is enough volume coming in at 180 here. Like, we're not just skipping right through 180 and we're not quickly rejecting it either. But let's see if the market can make it back into value and towards the top of this range right here at 175 and see what happens there. Our buyers are more active than the sellers this morning. All right, some selling pressure here. But again, sellers have been broken twice already. I really want it to come down and test the top of this range. I don't want it just to resist here at 177. I want an earnest attempt at 175 where volume comes in and it quickly snaps in and rejects it. Then I think we can put a little piece on at least. And again, I think we're looking to get back up into like weekly value, 190s, maybe even higher. Again, I want it to come lower and I want definitive proof that the volume that comes in lifts price. I don't want to chase it all the way up here. I don't want to chase it at 177 out of value. I would like a good, strong attempt. I want a good, strong attempt on behalf of sellers to get back into value, and then buyers say, absolutely not. But nothing on the large transactions. Volume that's coming in is pushing prices lower. We're right on top of this last seller absorption range. So it would be like right here, right? If a ton of volume comes in and we really quickly reject out of here. So now we've had a little bit of a shift in the value area. See, well, that's kind of what you're really looking for. All right, sellers coming in. All right, I'll try a piece at 176.50, stop 169 for now. Just keep it wide. I don't think we're going to get filled now. I am above the volume. The volume's at 176. I'm at 176.50. Probably need to make this 177 at least. I don't want to market it up here. All right, so in at 177, small quarter piece. Because I'm not exactly sure that this is going to be the type of day that we think it's going to be, right? This is more of like a trended trade rather than a scalp trade. A scalp trade, I would probably do a half, right? If I thought it was like a long scalp, if we were down here trying to break outside of value and couldn't, and scalp it back into value, that would be a half position. But taking a trade here at the top side of value, right? This is more of an imbalance continuation type trade, what might not even be an imbalanced environment. So we have a little mismatch. But I like what happened here. On the top of the previous range, okay, we've broken seller absorption a couple times here. Volume came in at exactly where I wanted it to come in. Price kind of quickly rejected. I mean, that's what you want to see. You want to see quick rejections of this area to take things higher. Once we get up to 182, we'll make a determination with the stop if we can get up there. So sellers trying to defend this. Volume that's coming in is still lifting price. We want to try to stay above this if we can. What I don't want is any volume coming in here at the low volume area, 176, that then pushes price back down. I do like that the POC moved up, but I don't like that the volume came in at the POC and pushed price down. I want us to really kind of finish above this. All right, that's pretty good. That's not bad. Just stay up there. I'm not going to add to this, I don't think. I mean, part of me does, right? Because you are resisting this, right? You are resisting the top of this prior range. It's a low volume area. You have buyer absorption coming in at higher prices, right? Sellers are trying to hold this down here. But I'm not getting the impression that they're following through. No large transactions here. If we got another dip like this or another hard drive down on large volume that gets quickly rejected, that would be maybe an add, right? Because that builds up enough pressure that you are possibly going to break these 180s, this low volume area. So a little volatile injection there. This is why you keep a wide stop at the beginning for fucking crazy little shit like that. I don't see any news releases. So if we now quickly reject, get back up in here, 177 again, I'll add. But we need to stay above this volume here. Or I'm just going to look to limit out on a rotation. Let's see what happens. I want to move my stop up to at least 170. Oops, oops, oops. I hit the wrong button. Fuck me. All right, so now we got to get back into our position like a fucking idiot. So we originally bought at 176.50. Exited at 1. Where did I get filled? I canceled the 169. That was a stop. 176.25 is the order. Average fill was 1. Why can't I read this correctly? Anyway, all right, we'll stick with the quarter position here. Now it's at 76 and 25. I hit the wrong goddamn button at 175. I think that's where it exited, 175, yeah. So we filled 177, exited at 175 on accident. We want to stay above this volume. We want to reject out here right now, please. Get back up towards the POC. Don't resist the POC. And we're filling in this volume. That's not great. You wanted to resist that low volume area, not fill it in. So I'm not willing to cut it just yet. Let's see what happens when we get back up to the POC. But if this kind of environment persists, you just really can't get it back above the POC. This volume comes in and keeps pushing you down. See how buyer absorption now came in at a lower price. Like it's getting a little precarious here on any potential long in this range. Right? You're not doing a very good job. I mean, you are a little bit of resisting the top of this prior swing range here. No large transactions. The volume here, lifted price, volume here is now suppressant price. Yeah, I kind of want to get out on a rotation. It's just, I don't feel like we're getting what we're looking for here. Oh, I don't even have a stop in. Holy fucking shit. 170 stop. But we're going to get out on a rotation here. Where's that volume at? 174. You got to stay above this. You finish below this. I'm just going to look to exit on a rotation. Yeah, I don't know. You need to quickly reject this. So the more you hang out down here, the long, we're not really just adding volume and then snapping out of it, right? So rotate out at 174 if we can get it on a quarter position, keeping it very light. Like we rotated into 174, it just didn't give me the fill. See if I can't rotate out at 173. That's such bullshit. It rotated into 174 like 3 times and I didn't get filled. All right, now we're just gonna go all the way down to the stop at 170 like a fucking jerk. No, because this is why we keep things light. So trying to rotate out at 173. Otherwise, it'll be 170. Yeah, I don't think we're even going to get 173. Try 172 now. Jeez, Lapese, folks. Buyer at 171 and a quarter. But that didn't help. Yeah, out at 170. All right. So loss on a quarter position, trying to get long here. But I think, again, this is going to be a normal distribution type day. And I'd rather scalp along, trying to look for a trend breakout long, which is kind of what we did here. All right. That's why we kept the position small, because there's a little bit of a mismatch between what we're seeing with the auction theory and what we're seeing with the order flow. So like this is the better area to get in at, right? The volume that comes in here and shoves you right back into value. But I want to see a shift. I want to see us staying above the volume here. I want to be like very convinced. Yeah, not so convincing, right? Make sure there's no news. Yeah, there's nothing from Trump outside of 9:30. But we've made it outside of value here pretty easily. Volume's coming in and still pushing price down. So just to recap this morning, we've broken buyer absorption, we've broke seller absorption, right? So that really starts hinting at this is just going to be a balanced day. So we do want to look towards like the lows as a potentially scalped opportunity. So if we see the order flow shift down here in the 160s, it potentially is a long back up into value. But again, Tuesday before Fed funds, like don't be just super aggressive, I don't think. It depends what the order flow gives us. All right, that's why we keep core positions on that imbalanced trade type within like a normal distribution environment. All right, keep it light. So sellers at 170 and a quarter, seller at 168 and 3/4. So up in here, there's some large sells. So if you get back into value and hold this, that could be a good long. Yeah, the POC from the last week, the composite range, the POC is like pretty much right at 166. It's like right where we are right now. Yeah, that's pretty good. I want to see a potential dip outside value that can't get back outside value now. I don't want to really chase that price action right there. That's good. But as we come back out of value, I want to see a lot more volume come in and lift price very quickly. All right, that's not encouraging that you had volume come back in right inside value that pushed you right back out. All right, so that was pretty bearish. So like we're entertaining the idea of taking some long scalps somewhere down here, but we need to see some better order flow out of this. It's good that the POC shifted there and is trying to push you back into value. But if you close below that, that's pretty bearish. Yeah, that volume did not do a very good job of lifting you back into value. So buyers are absorbing at lower prices. You haven't seen any really flashes of seller absorption below 180. I'm not shorting into a composite balance range. No. I'll short below it. I won't short into it or right at it. I will long at it just because of the rejections we had lower last week below the balance range. This isn't very convincing to me of where this volume's coming in. All right, again, flashes the seller absorption at 171, right underneath where we found some buyer absorption. I mean, the order flow seems kind of bearish, but this is kind of an interesting area now because you're right at the value area low. You're right above this composite value area. You didn't resist really getting back into value. You were able to make it outside of value by a pretty good margin, then quickly snap back towards value, and now you're kind of just stuck. So my ideal scenario is another attempt here outside of value and a quick rejection on volume at 167, 166. I get that. Then we're scalping towards the top of the value range to 178. So if we see heavy volume come in here, all right, kind of like that. But you really want to finish above that. And you want to quickly reject. You don't want to just be rotating back and forth here right at the number. So I kind of want to see where this finishes up. US consumer confidence numbers. I completely forgot about that at 10 o'clock because it's just such a non-factor. Better than expected. Who knows? Who knows what that's going to do to the market? Seller absorption, volumes coming in. You're rejecting. All right, I will put a quarter piece on at 168.75. Catastrophic stop at 162. Quarter position. I want to see more development now. I'll add to it if we can meaningfully get above this POC, come back down and resist the POC. Then that's an add scenario. I don't really want another move outside of value. And I also don't want volume to come in here at the POC and just keep price down. I want us to clear the POC a little bit. Let's get above the POC. Let's try to retest it from the high side, get volume to come in and lift it up. And that's not what you wanted to see at all. That was no bueno. So now let's see what happens here at 167. If the volume comes in here and pushes the price, we're going to get out in a quick rotation. But I do expect there to be a little bit of a struggle here. I don't expect this to be clean, but I also don't expect us to really push outside of value. I would hope not. So any volume that comes down here, we need to stay above. Any volume that comes in here and we stay below like this is not good. That was not good, and then that was not good. So we got to take the market for what it's given us. And if the flow doesn't match the trade, we got to look to get out on a rotation. All right, rotate out, rotate out. 167 limit. 166 limit. Come on. Yep, out. Now watch all this volume come in here and just shoot you right back into the value. If it does, I'm going to half position long. But if the volume that comes in here and we kind of stay below it and we don't quickly rotate out of here, all right, that's not very convincing, honestly. Market may make me pay the price for this. I just don't like the volume that came in here, pushed price down. The volume came in at the POC and aggressively pushed price down. It's like now you almost kind of wait to break the POC. But I mean, we're not quickly rejecting out of here, are we? No. I mean, let's not get crazy here today, folks. We've taken a couple quarter stabs, able to rotate out on one of them, not so much on the one prior. Yeah, I mean, you just... So let's see what happens if we can clear the POC and come back down. Yeah, they fucked me on that one. Damn it. They tricked me. Now, but the volume that comes in here right up at the POC still pushes you down. All right, until this environment changes where the volume that comes in here and lifts price, I don't think we're going to be seeing 180s anytime soon. Plenty of seller absorption here, though. Buyers at 171 and a quarter, 170 and a quarter. All right, that's marking the highs. It's marking the swing highs. That is pretty bearish order flow down here. So we got to wait for this to change. Wait for it to change, folks. So there we go. Yeah, very normalized looking distribution, very tight range. All right, 20-point range on this morning. Again, I think this much favors scalp type environment rather than trying to look for a trend type trade. So ideally now we get another run of the lows that gets quickly rejected on volume. Right, because I'm not getting in long here at this value area low. We've just overlapped rotations too much here. All right, this is too much time acceptance for me. All right, this wasn't exactly a very quick rejection out of here. But if you do break these seller absorption here, come back and retest them on the high side, that's a great long. I feel like probabilities are just too low here right now. All right, but I want you to meaningfully break them. Don't just wishy-washy, get to like 174 and then come back down. Snap them and then come back down, and when they cover, get long. So the last sellers were at 168.75 and then 170 and a quarter. So all the big sellers are underwater, but there hasn't been many of them. Another buyer at 175. Marked a literal fucking high. So are we meaningfully breaking these? Yeah, I mean, if you close above this volume here, I would consider that a pretty meaningful break. And then now if we get resistance back into the top of this range right here at the POC, let's do a half position long. And look for the top of the range. But we want to come back and test this POC. Do not get long up in the high 170s. Because the last significant seller absorption outside of this is up here at 179. So sellers active. Now let's see what happens at 171. But you do want a good test, and you want volume to come in and lift price. You don't want to stay below price, or below volume rather. I'm sorry. Yeah, shook me right out of my trade, you knuckles, heads, use. Like I want to swear, but keep it clean. Yeah, it's dumb. Dummity dum 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 dum. But I'm kind of okay with it because of what happened here. The seller absorption, the volume at the POC, rejected price. Like I had maybe waited until this happened, but it was this volume that scared us right here at 168. And then pushed the price down. But more volume came in and lifted the price up. But we didn't wait for that to happen. I want a more meaningful test of this range. This isn't it. You still haven't overlapped the prior wick to range. Volume that's coming in towards the top of the value area. Kind of mixed. All right, but you get a good rundown here. Has some volume come in and quickly reject it out of here. I like that trade. But now we got to be patient and just wait for it. Yeah, it's to be patient. And it should really kind of be this point right here because that's the volume that breaks the seller absorption at 172 and a quarter. Right here. You can see it in that candle. So the volume here is still bullish. But again, I would like to get a better price. What are we scalping to? Right? 180, 182 if you're lucky. Like, do a quick boom, do a quick rejection. That'd be great. Nice quick snap. But all the volume that's coming in for the most part is kind of holding up price. See, now this is what you want. You want a quick work down and a quick rejection. Stay above the volume. I'm probably willing to accept maybe a 174 entry-ish. I really want it down lower, right? I still think this needs to come lower, but I don't even think it's going to give it to you. Gosh darn it. This would be a very precarious long if we get long here. Right in the middle of the value area above the POC, just hoping to get out of value and hope that sellers don't crush you before you get there. I'm actually kind of glad that happened. Because again, I want the volume build to be here, right about here, not up here. I want it to be right about here. Right, so the same people who lifted you out of this seller absorption range, I want them to step back in and reload. That's essentially what that would be telling me. Yeah. I got my finger over a buy button. You're not quickly rejecting this. You're overlapping the rotations a lot. Yeah, that wasn't good enough for me, folks. Not good enough. Yeah, the volume came in and held up price, but I mean, we didn't quickly reject that at all. At all. So now maybe, again, there's more room around the POC. Maybe you come down and test the actual POC at 170. And then that's your resistance point. It could be. Or maybe you get a test of the value area low again and move outside of value and that gets quickly rejected and you can use that as a long. But this order flow right here at 172, I don't like it for a long at all. I do like the fact that we're on top of this range Okay, but I want to see us actually resist this POC. Is this a very convincing resistance of the POC? Did you really test the point of control here where all the volume is? And you really haven't yet. So unless that happens, I'm not really entertaining the idea of a long. So we're just going to sit and be patient and see what else this market wants to give us this morning. Buyers are trying to step in and absorb, but again, we're right at the POC. Volume still coming in, still suppressing price for the most part here in the mid 170s. So let's see if we get a heavy volume injection here at the POC and whether or not it lifts price. Or maybe we're now going to test the value area low. Like that would be probably a good trade too. If we make a meaningful attempt to break the value area low and it gets quickly rejected out of that, then you have a couple decent targets for a scalp 175 and then probably 180 swing highs. I'd probably target 179 to be honest. You don't want to be hanging down below the POC. Very quick rejection. Let's see if we make a more meaningful test. Like I'm not entirely convinced by this order flow right here. It leans bullish, but it's not super bullish. It wasn't a super exciting moment for the bulls. You didn't get the impression that they were really just excited to buy here at 169. And the fact that we went out this range, tried to break the sellers came in higher, absorbed, and now pushed you back into this range. That's pretty bearish. And all the volume that comes in as you attempted to break that range, volume came in at the top of the range and pushed you right back in. So now let's see what happens at the value area low and potentially the distribution lows and see if buyers get a little more excited at those points for a long scalp. Last buyer was at 175. No sellers on this way down. Buyer is stuck up here somewhere. At 1006. Right up here. So it's pretty common for large transactions to mark the swing highs and swing lows. All right, if we had some very large sellers coming in here and just get absolutely absorbed, that'd be great. Not bad. Not bad at all. You don't want to resist the POC to the downside now. All right, this is a little bit of an inflection point for the markets this morning. And possible that this range is just being widened here, that this is now the rotational range here from 164 up to 176. So you tried to break below the POC. You tried to get back into this prior range, resisted the bottom of the range. Now you're trying to break it back outside of the range. Let's see what happens when we come back down to this POC, because this volume that came in at the POC did not reject price. And this is a pretty earnest attempt to move things lower again. And you couldn't get back outside value. We've now wicked the value area every time you've tried. So you come back down here to the POC, not the greatest price for a long. I would probably prefer 167, but I'm willing to accept like 169, 170 here, I think now. Right, there were no sellers on that way down. So from like this little low volume area, potentially, I mean, right in the middle of value on a scalp trade is not ideal. You want to be down near the value area low. But this happened pretty quickly. So let's see if any volume comes in here and keeps you above, and it didn't. It did not, folks. It did not. I mean, markets should just be being sneaky today and trapping people and not really taking a direction, just a nice balanced distribution day, which it kind of really looks like this is going to be. Which means scalp trades only. And scalp trades you don't take right in the middle of value. You take them outside of value, going back into value, and then hope that you can get such a move from out of value back to the point of control, and then also back to the other side of value area. That would be your ideal scenario. But kind of playing loose here with the POC a little bit. We weren't playing loose with it before, but now we're playing a little bit more loose with it. Try not to smudge my glasses again. Volume that comes in here is still suppressing price. I mean, I would entertain the idea of a long if we get something that looks like this again. A hard attempt out and a quick rejection back in. Because then how many times would you have attempted to get outside value to the low side and just not been able to do it at all? But I do want an attempt lower. Like, actually, let's see an attempt on behalf of sellers to actually get out there. The buyer's trying to absorb at higher prices. Right? I don't. Yeah, buyers were broken. 43, 102. Yeah, from much earlier. That's a pretty good lift. Part of me wants to put a piece on right now. And then just hope for a scalp towards the highs, I guess. Jesus. It's just like I want to take the trade, but it's just like the probabilities aren't stacked high enough for me, I don't think. I feel like this is a pretty precarious long at 170. I mean, seller's trying to absorb here. You're not exactly quickly rejecting this POC. You're doing a quicker job of rejecting the value area lows than you are rejecting the POC. All right, I get the impression that we want to do a little bit of a pop here. But the order flow is not overwhelming, is it? Not at all. You know, you have sellers absorbing at lower prices. Volume came in at the POC, held things down. Well, the volume that came in last time at 167.5, thereabouts, lifted price. Last large buyer was at 1006. at 175. The large sellers, their high price is 168 and 3/4 and 170 and 1/4. So they're in this area right here. And it's right where the market is struggling. Bam, bam, bam. Just keeping our powder dry, waiting for that moment to strike on this. We're not really entertaining the ideas of shorts due to where we are relative to the composite balance at 160 to 150. I'm viewing that more as a launch area. All right, we're kind of staying just right above it. All right, the composite PLC is like 161. But this volume is coming in and you're still pushing price lower. Well, sellers might be able to break it. They just might. I want to see a lot of volume coming in and a good, strong, clean rejection now. Right? Because the sellers took it at the POC and they're trying to break it outside in value. If they can't do it, they're going to give up. Right? Finish back within value here. All right, that's some good volume. All right, we're going to put on a couple pieces. Half position. Average is 167.50. Up at 161 for now. Half position. Because you cannot make it outside of value here. They've tried. I want us now to snap this POC area where all the volume came in and resisted. Snap them. And then you'll get a pretty good run up to 175 at least. All right, so I do want to sell a piece at 175 at least. Right there. 174, make it 174 and a half. But we got to break this POC. We don't want the volume coming in here and suppressing price, and you don't want to get back outside of value now. You don't want to close outside of value. Close outside of value probably negates this trade completely. But I do like all this buyer absorption down here. I do like our attempts to get outside of value, and we quickly reject it. All right, but we need some buyers to step in here. I would like some institution and some size to step in, ideally. All right, I want to make a break here. I don't want to get all wishy-washy right here at 170s. So I got a piece to sell at 174 and a half if we can get up there. Long at 167 and a half. But my God, we can't get above this POC, can we? You don't want to see a bunch of volume come in here and price close below it. You really don't. Stops down at 161. You want to see more volume come in here and lift this back up. We're not going to add to it. I only go full position on trend type days. But now I want to see price quickly reject this. And it doesn't seem to be doing a very good job, does it? So maybe we rotate a piece out. All right, we're not quickly rejecting at all. Oh my gosh, why can't you reject this now? All right. So I'll stop a piece at, yeah, I think we got to rotate out here. Yep, okay. I rotate some out at 164. I'll leave the rest at 161. This is not what you wanted to see at all. All right, for a second, the probabilities were on our side, but they don't seem to be anymore. We still could pop out of here, but I'm not going to add back to this until we clear this POC now meaningfully. The only scenario in which I add now is we clear this POC and resist it, trying to reclaim it. All right, this is a volume that came in here. The fuckers, they just like, you know, markets do this, guys. Markets are very tough. They will shake you out of positions and then just immediately go in the other direction. That sucks, but again, the volume that's coming in here right above the POC is rejecting price. It's not great for longs. But that was a pretty good volume influx. All right, I want us to break this now. We still have a quarter piece on, so that's good. I still have it to sell at 174 into half. I'll leave that there. But if we can start to move up, start to break the top of these ranges here, see, you still can't fucking do it though. Market can't do it. Like all the volume that comes in here is still suppressing price. But I still like it. I will leave it. I mean, we can make the argument that anything back outside of value is just a disaster. I mean, at least 162. Yeah, my lord. The sellers are just hammering this a little bit. But a very balanced range here. Point of control is right on top of the value area low now. Yeah, it stops at 162, folks. On the last quarter position. Like, that's not good. The fact that we're just now rotating right here at the value area low is not good at all. In fact, I kind of just want to scratch the trade completely, save some money. Right, if there's not a quick rejection out of here right now, we're scratching. Quickly reject, please. Quickly reject. Quickly reject. Quicker, quicker, quicker. Quicker, quicker, please. Yeah, okay. Not adding, though. Still not adding until we clear this POC. But that was a good quick rejection. Like this volume that comes in here at 164 is holding up price. So we'll just move the stop to 163. Again, we're just reducing the risk based off what we're reading in the order flow. It seems like people at 165 are willing to lift price. Now you're just like you're compressing this range here a little bit, right? The lows aren't getting as low, the highs are getting a little bit higher. We'd like to at least get one winner today, but we're not just going to hold out for a winner if the order flow just tells us to get the fuck out. The order flow tells us this volume here is just killing us right now. You got to break this 168 volume because all this volume that's coming in here is suppressing price for the most part. You've got to start making some meaningful progress above where the volume comes in. And you're just not. It's just like I got a feeling like we're just going to run our position low. Right? Maybe we just exit now and see if we finally do get the move above, and then maybe that will be the better entry, is to move back down towards the test of the POC and then test towards this range. Because I feel we're just like kind of stuck right now between 169 and 163. Right, and our entry's at 167 and 3/4. Right, you're right towards the top of this stuck range. And then 163 could be too tight of a stop now. Right, because I mean, a candle could easily just come down here, wick it, resist it, and quickly move back in. But let's just leave this alone for right now. Let's just hands off. Let's see if we can't break this POC. I mean, buyers are absorbing here, but they're not taking prices higher, which is a very troubling sign. I think the buyers are going to get broken here, honestly. The volume that's coming in here is now suppressing price below the POC. That's terrible. Yeah, we're going to get stopped out at 163, I think. Unless you say above this volume. But the fact that we're absorbing here, we're not making any progress on behalf of buyers sucks. All right, I'm just going to look to rotate out. See if I can't get like a 166 fill. I'm probably not going to be able to get that. 165.50. Try that. Come on, give me 165.50. But watch all this volume come in and just lift price. No, it's not. Rotate 165 now. Rotate 165. Oh, fucker. All right. Yeah. Damn it. I'm not getting what we want here, folks. We're just like kind of hoping we break these levels, and they're not getting broken. So we're going to sit tight for, I think, the remainder of the session. We've tried 3 scalps now, and none of them have worked. Well, I mean, one was an imbalance, but we tried 3 trades, and none of them have worked. So let's not take a loser day and turn it into a drastic loser day. I think we're still up on the week so far, but we got to base our trading decisions based off auction theory and order flow, not P&L. And then we're just slowly grinding lower here. Like the sellers are control, but this isn't a seller's market. Like I don't think we can profit going short here. I mean, like they just want me to go long again, don't they? They just really do. They're probably going to present some opportunities for me to really test my discipline right now. Because we start getting bullish order flow down here at 161, right at where the POC, the composite POC is from last week. It's like, how can you resist? How could you resist? Seller at 160, another seller at 160, second seller at 160 got absorbed. So let's see if they can hold in these large cells down here. Because again, remember the cells, large cells on top of each other usually represent swing highs and lows. So if you get a bunch of volume coming here and it wicks it and gets above 160, those sellers could be absolutely trapped. But we want some bullish order flow down here. Yeah, I think those 160 sellers are in trouble. All right, this is kind of like the same trade yesterday. If we come down here and get more bullish order flow down here, I'm gonna long it. I can't help myself. Because the market is consistently going down. We're breaking buyer absorption, sellers stepping in at lower lows, but here I am just like, yep, gotta go long, bro. Gotta go long, bro. And so let's see where we close relative to this, all this volume coming in here at 157. Still nothing outside the sells at 160. So volume came in lower. You're not quickly rejecting. You're kind of hanging out below volume. So that's not the spot you're looking for, folks. Not it. Not it. Was tempted. Yeah, I mean, this is pretty bearish order flow. I mean, it was pretty bearish all the way up here too, and we were just fighting it. Another seller at 155 and a quarter. Oh, I don't have my news open. Make sure there's no news flow. Yep, nothing since the consumer confidence numbers at 10 o'clock. No news. So yeah, now we're definitely within like the composite area from last week. And we're getting down towards like where the value area low probably is. So we'll see if there's any resistance down here. And you don't want to get long on just like one bullish candle. You got to wait. So the big sellers did drive price lower. And you want to confirm this with like a couple bullish order flow candles. You don't just want to dip by the one. And now I guess the trade thesis would be you're at the value area low from the composite value area last week, and then that might be a point. Honestly, I think what now has happened is that we've tested lower last week, quickly rejected, didn't find balance, formed balance between 160 and 150. We tested higher on Friday and Monday. Also did not find great balance. You found some balance, but not great balance. Now we're just back in the value area range from last week. And so we'll just balance here until tomorrow afternoon. I think that's a pretty good thesis right here. I don't think this is a buy by any stretch of the imagination. I think I would only buy this. It would be me trying to get revenge on the market. I think everything is just working against you at this point. We're now back in the composite area of value from last week, right? And so that means there's probably going to be a lot of chop. You've broken this range, are now well underneath it. Okay, so that's pretty bearish. Institutional orders sold, and for the most part, they've held. Absorption, buyer absorption's been broken. Sellers are absorbing at lower prices. Candle volume that's coming in, like down here, is trying to lift price a little bit. So maybe that's bullish. But you're spending a lot of time here. This wasn't a quick rejection, so now you have time acceptance. There is no long here. Just because it's a good price, I don't think you have enough here to go long. I don't think you do. Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan is talking somewhere right now. So that's probably why you're getting these little volatility injections. Says he doesn't worry about the US economy. Well, good for him. So the last of these swing sellers was at 160. Now broke some seller absorption. Maybe if we get a test of down here in the 150s, 154, you test maybe the top of that range where that volume is at 154. You can maybe long it back into value for a scalp. Let's see what happens if price comes down here. That's some pretty heavy absorption there, but it's at a higher price. That's pretty heavy. And it's right at that 160 where there was pretty large selling. All right, that's almost like you're lining the sand outside of value right now. But I'd be interested because as you come back into this volume area right here at 153, what happens to price? Does volume come in here and lift it back out? I think you can scalp that back to value. I don't think this is low enough. I want the wick of the candle to go into 154s. Where this volume is at 154.5. No news. Whatever. Yeah, honestly, I don't even know what the status on the Iran negotiations are right now. If they're meeting, if they're not meeting. Another seller. No, that was from earlier. Yep, that's from earlier. I thought another seller had come in. Nope. Negative. Yeah, I mean, you break 160, you're definitely going back into value and probably going back towards the POCA if I had to guess. But more seller absorption here. Jeez, Lapese, guys. New sellers want to sell. They want to sell. This is getting pretty windy out. It's not good for baseball. Yeah, you made no attempt to hold the top of that. Absolutely no attempt. So anything outside of quick rejection out of this. Volume comes in here and quickly rejects this. I'll maybe try it to get back to the PLC. Just think about this for a second. I mean, all right, I'll try 155. Scalp. Stop 149. All right, I think I can get a fill at 155. Because this is there, right? This volume build right here, you went into it, the volume build just like we were looking for, and then rejected out of there. All right, I'm being a little. All right, so in at 155, you don't want to get back into this now. Right, you don't want to get back below this volume that came in. And we're just trying too hard to find a bottom. Only a quarter piece, just because we have a lot kind of working against us, I think. Oh, jeez. Buyer at 160. So this 160 is now your inflection point. If we come above this, resist 160, I think you can add. But that's a crazy volume injection. Let's make sure get the news up here. I don't want to see us come back down below 154 at all. Because we're in at 155, right on the top of this little range here. Got in because the volume came in here and rejected this little volume distribution. But on that pop-up, you got up to the 160, where that one large seller is, and you trapped a buyer there. If we break this 160, stop is definitely break even. But that is so much absorption right there. That is a heavy print, folks. But the volume is trying to push price up here. All right, they are the buyers are trying to snap these sellers now. This is an honest, good attempt here. We'll see what happens when we get back up to 160. If we can get up to 160 again. I don't want to move to break even just yet. Even though this is pretty precarious. What time was that at? 47. Maybe the China is poised to restart exporting jet fuel, diesel, and gasoline, according to the Financial Times. I don't know if that would be what that was. But this inability to break 160 sucks. And I don't really have a lot of risk tolerance here. Because we've been bamboozled on our first two attempts here to get long. Yeah, that sucks. That sucks, folks. We shouldn't be coming back down here. Yeah, I think that was a China headline. And the markets were like, yeah, who cares? So anything other than a quick rejection out of here, we're kind of fucked. Yeah, that's not the rejection you're looking for, folks. Rotate out 153, see if we can get it. No, we're not going to get it. 152 rotation. Oh no, that's going to go to 149 for sure, fucker. Damn it. Oh well. Okay, not a good day. Not a good day, folks. We're trying along this on the idea of the composite balance range was going to support price today, and it did not. Absolutely did not. Oh well. What are you going to do? Yeah, now we're definitely not attempting this again because I mean we tried this 3 times and it just each time it just did not work. The sellers just absolutely pounded us each time. Another seller came in at 159. Yeah, this 159, 160 is your absolute line in the sand for this morning. I would not get long until you're able to break that. Jeez Louise, folks. Watch it now, just rocket ship fuckers. What the fuck is? Yeah, I wish I was more comfortable with shorting today, but I was just not where we were and what's happened and where we were relative to kind of like the composite range from last week. Like I didn't feel like shorting into 160s, 150s was at all feasible today. I was wrong, folks. I was wrong. Markets are tough to trade. Yeah, but definitely not engaged in anything. We'll hang out for a couple more minutes, but that's it for the day. We tried. We tried. We failed. We came, we saw it, and we did not conquer, folks. Sellers absorbing at lower and lower prices. Yeah, I mean, this absorption print is really, really heavy. That's a big number. That's a lot of contracts to just eat. But if you break that level now with all this absorption here, you're going to get a pretty good move. Like, unfortunately, I'm not going to be here in the afternoon to trade it. But I would think, like, you know, anything above 160 that comes back down and tests 160 right outside value and that 160 area and get heavy resistance on volume. Oh my God, that's probably such a good long right there. But it's not going to happen within the next 7 minutes for sure. Oh, it's a candle. Yeah, there's just a lot working against the bulls here. Just lower ranges. Right, I think it's always a woulda, coulda, shoulda, right? When you look back at it, you're like, should I have really been attempting longs down there? Right, because we broke this range between 170 and 164, and then came up underneath it and got heavy absorption at 161. Right? Like, outside of this morning, it was this morning that we saw both buyers and seller absorption be broken. But then by almost like, let's see, 10:09, that completely changed. Sellers kept on pushing lower, and only buyers have been broken since then for the most part. Outside of this run up to 160, where you broke the seller absorption at 155 and then just absorbed it at 160. But bullish flow coming in here at the 149 lows. I just, you know, I'm not going to be a gluten for punishment here. We're just let it go. It's too much working against you, and I think the only long factor you have behind you is the fact that you're bouncing up against this composite value area low. You know, these fucking markets just, they want to emotionally fuck you guys. Iraq has no plans to leave OPEC. We need a strong group for stable prices. Oh yeah, cool story, bro. But failure to get back into this range. Yeah, lower ranges, failure to get back into the prior ranges. Institutional orders are selling. You just had another seller at 150. Absorptions happen at lower prices for the most part for sellers. Buyers are not stepping in and absorbing. Order flow volume here is kind of mixed. You're doing a lot of overlapped rotations here. All right, this is a pretty good time acceptance here in this area. Not so much down here in 147, but hey, it's interesting. You get these quick buy side volume injections, then just they quickly get rejected. All right, you're struggling to get back up into this prior range here, rotational range. Yeah, I don't know if you can do anything until you break 160, to be honest. I think I would just leave it alone until you see what happens at 160. Oh, King Charles. Oh, King Charles. Anyway, I think that's going to conclude it for us today. We're definitely not taking another trade within the next 3 minutes. That'd be crazy. And we took a few shots and then they just didn't work. We were fortunate enough to be able to rotate out on one of them, and part of the second one. But the third one, we weren't really able to rotate out of, unfortunately. So, yeah, we lost a little more than we would have liked to today, but still well below our max loss for the day. And it's just the market didn't give us what we were looking for. We had a thesis as to what we were looking for. We were looking for longs at the low area of 160, possibly down in the 150s, which was the prior week composite mean. And it just, the market did not resist it. It just fell back into the range and stayed there. So I think the market is just now going to balance here in this range between 160 and 150 until Fed tomorrow. So yeah, we'll see what if the market gives us anything tomorrow, but it just might be like a range scalp type environment. And we'll go from there. All right. So hope you all have a great day. God bless you. And we'll see you tomorrow morning and Wednesday.